What are you doing?
That was so unbelievably stupid. Hello, everybody. This is Mark Breyer again from the Husband and Wife Law Team again, and we're going to comment today on something you guys love. We got so much positive feedback. We're going to do some of these dash cams. Now, I got good news and bad news. Here's the good news. A huge number of you are starting to subscribe. We're starting to get a lot of people like, let me hear more of this content. Bad news. 95% of you have not yet subscribed. So subscribe. Make sure you like what you see so we know this is what you want to see more of. And comment. If you have other ideas, we're all for it. Here we go. Okay, I have no idea what just happened. Hold on. Still don't know what happened. Okay, I feel like I need slow motion.
A crazy accident happened at the F3 World Cup final in Macau, leaving many people seriously injured.
How do I react to that as a trial lawyer? Because there's actually so much about that. So there's something called in the law assumption of the risk, and it is misused even by lawyers. I've had to work to educate my adversaries all the time to try to use this against my client. My client will get hurt. Well, you assume the risk of being on a motorcycle. That's not assumption of the risk. In the law, assumption of the risk is there's a specific risk I understand. So here's the question. Clearly, the driver in Formula One assumes the risk of a Formula One crash, right? Does someone in the audience assume the risk of a Formula One crash? You know you're going to Formula One. You know what you're going to see at Formula One? A Formula One race. You know what might happen at a Formula One race? A car may crash. So is someone in the audience, when they sue and they go, I got hurt because of the negligence of a driver on the Formula One track, are they going to be successful? Or is the defense going to say, you assume the risk, you sat right there? Now, here's what I would say. Every jurisdiction is different, but here's the problem. If you sue the driver, you may have a problem, right? Because you knew that drivers were going to try to pass each other and that was part of the deal. However, you probably had a reasonable belief that whomever designed the track would design it in a way that if the potential crash happened, because they know it might happen too, that they would protect the people in the audience. And I think there, in many jurisdictions, you'd have a really good case. I hope everyone was okay, because those are speeds that are like ridiculous to try to watch, but you can't see it. But the production team, Sean, is bad to going, everyone was okay. So that's good, but whoa, that was crazy. I couldn't even figure out what happened. Okay, this is gonna end badly.
I think he needs to have his license taken away for making the stupidest mistake. Luckily, no one was in the back of the car.
All right, so here's the thing. You've heard me say this before. Everyone gets mad at truck drivers on the road, but they're professional drivers for a reason. Their stopping time is way longer. The amount of room they're taking up is bigger. That's why we need people who don't do that when they're driving. I just want to stop this for a moment and say this. If you see your neighbor doing this, you may not look at that ramp and go, that's a bad idea because you're not paying attention. But when you're watching it right now as a trial lawyer, and you know that this is not going to be a video that goes well, it's a little harder to watch. I don't know what it's like for you guys, but I just want to point out that this dude's just chilling and fine, probably sees a 35-degree angle and is not really thinking through how this might go.
Stop like that. Go, line. You cannot stop like that.
That is not the way I saw it going at all. That would have worked just fine if he didn't stop. Who can he sue? Yeah, he's not suing anybody. Remember we talked about assumption of the risk? If you're trying to get up that ramp in that way, which I thought he was never going to make it. I thought that thing was going backwards. If he had gotten hurt, that was something he knew that he was taking the risk of. Now, let's say he said, as an example, well, the ramp didn't hold its weight. Would he have a case? He'd have a very, very difficult case because he knew what he was doing. And someone's yelling at him the whole time, like, you can't stop while you're hanging over the side, which was just odd too. I want to see that one more time.
Stop like that. Go, line. You cannot stop like that. What are you doing?
That was so unbelievably stupid. I am a plaintiff's lawyer, and I have no problem looking at that and saying, God forbid anything bad had happened. There is 100% responsibility on a stupid decision because you didn't want to have to wait on the train. Could the dog sue the owner for negligence? Let's say the dog was a person, but like was a kid, and your uncle made you experience near death. Could you then sue your uncle for almost killing you, but you didn't get hurt physically, you didn't get killed? Could you argue intentional infliction of emotional distress and file suit? Well, you can file suit for anything.
But did you die?
I don't know that it's gonna go anywhere because nothing happened, but can you imagine? Like, that was so dumb. And I know that if that guy was sitting right here, he'd be like, what are you talking about? I made it. Yeah, you made it. But anything goes wrong in any way, and you just died, your dog just died, what's your dog gonna do?
I like trains.
Meanwhile, how chill was that dog? Like, look, the dog's just like, okay, all right, here we go. Like, what? How many times has this guy taken his dog in front of this train?
That's a daily routine with the dog.
Right. Ooh.
Oh my God. The car in front suddenly stopped, causing the truck behind to stop abruptly. The driver had no time to react and crashed straight into the car, which caught fire.
No way. We were all taught when we still had our driving permit that you have to keep enough space between you and the vehicle in front of you so that you can take evasive action, whether it's slowing or moving or whatever you have to do. That video does not show a car suddenly stopping. If the car in front of you suddenly stops, it's still on you. But in this case, that car may have stalled out because of mechanical reasons, might have had a tire issue, might have had a run out of gas. I have no idea why that car stopped. You don't get to barrel in full speed and put all the blame on the vehicle in front of you. Now, there's a lot of things we don't know. So I'm not saying it's 100% the fault of the truck that hit that vehicle, but the idea that we should assume it's the responsibility of the truck that got rear-ended goes against what you know is true and what I know is true. Now, am I right or wrong? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one because we know that the narrator of the scene totally disagrees with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah. I have no words.
Smoke from the truck obscured the motorcyclist's vision, causing an accident to occur.
Can you ever hold responsible someone who is not involved in the collision? So in this case, smoke comes out of the back of the vehicle, now it obscures vision. Well, first of all, most people in the United States would see this scene and go, this could never happen. Why are you driving all over the road? But if you have visited many parts of the world, you know that motorbikes and motorcycles and mopeds cutting off buses is just a way a lot of people around the world drive, so this is not as shocking. It's an interesting thing though, if something similar happened in the United States. Obviously, the answer is probably no, because you just crossed over into oncoming traffic. That's probably on you. Also, you were so close that a little bit of exhaust from the vehicle in front of you could block it off. But I will say there are times where someone causes a collision and they're not actually involved in the actual collision themselves. And yes, they can still be responsible. Super careful, nice start. Oh! I don't have a lot of things to share other than the driver of that car has not driven that car very often. Might not be his car, and that is a really big property damage bill you now owe. I hope you have excellent insurance. Now, here's a question. Let's say you own a car, someone who shouldn't drive it drives it, they hurt it. Does your insurance cover you? It depends what insurance you have. If you have collision insurance, then the answer is yes. If you have the minimum insurance, the answer is no. So even though someone who shouldn't have even taken your car wrecks your car, you got a problem. If the car was stolen, you need different insurance than if it was someone that you gave the keys to who screwed up your car. So I know insurance is really expensive, and you know, I spend my life fighting for people often when insurance companies are denying their claim that can change their life that they should pay, in our opinion. But when you go to buy insurance, remember this: everyone hates paying for insurance until they need it. If you own a car like that, I'd pay for the insurance, which will be really expensive if you own a car like that. That was crazy.
How does that even happen? I don't understand how that even happens.
I can explain. Hold on, right here. Well, here, hold on, watch. Because all you see, what the? So I thought it was mounted to the car and that the driver just didn't realize that the sparks were underneath the car because you can't see the sparks because they're going under the car. But now I'm like, that is not mounted. Best of all, it's a minivan.
She's late for soccer practice.
Yes, like, that's crazy. All right, what did you see there? What are your thoughts on that? I'm gonna tell you mine in a second. I wanna show you guys something again. Here's the camera set over there, and everyone will watch what happens. We got the motorcycle, and here comes the car coming across. Whose fault is that? Clearly, this vehicle coming around from our left to our right, left the road. The driver of that vehicle is almost for sure at fault. Is anyone else at fault? Can you think of anyone? How about this? I don't know why this camera is set up here. Is it because there's a lot of collisions here? I don't know. But you have a turn coming around, and what that car did is it kept going straight. Let me ask you something. Why is there nothing put up there by whomever designed the roadway to catch cars and prevent them from crossing over and having head-on collisions? Because that is very little space. If they're going at, let's say, 60 miles an hour, they are gonna cross that 20 feet in a fraction of a second and have a head-on collision. So it's beautiful and all. Now, I don't know the speed limit that's supposed to happen over here, but we don't really care, do we, if we can just blame the driver? We care about keeping people safe. And there are a lot of ways that we can do that if there's some barrier between these two lanes of traffic that are going fast enough that if there's a collision, people are gonna die. So I'm not absolving the driver of fault. I'm saying think creatively and ask yourself, when you drive down the roads in a lot of places, would they allow this to exist without a barrier? Because we know people are gonna look down at their phones. We know people are gonna fall asleep at the wheel. We know people are gonna have tires blow out. We know it's gonna sometimes be raining. We know that kids are gonna distract. There's a million reasons people leave the road. Wouldn't you like more than a fraction of a second to prevent a head-on collision that kills people? And there's an opportunity, which is why I have gone to trial in cases like this before, because of the dangers that exist if the people who design the roadways don't put in proper safety mechanisms. And I know what you're saying. Well, you know, they can't prevent everything. That's true, but they could have prevented this. Now, fortunately, no one was badly hurt here, but they could have. And it's a relatively inexpensive fix, and it happens all the time. Is it going to happen here? No. The chance of it happening in any one place are low. But we know when the state or the cities do what they have to do, people live. And by the way, you and I can't put up that barrier. We don't design roads. So we need to trust the person who designs it to keep us safe.
Would that be the civil engineer's fault, or would that be the city's fault?
Let's assume this was the city who designed it. The city has a responsibility. They generally, in most states, cannot delegate that duty. It could also be the engineering firm's fault. They may both share fault. So you have traffic engineers, you have traffic studies done. There's something called the MUTCD and something else called the AASHTO Green Book. The AASHTO Green Book is basically the Bible of how we engineer roads throughout the United States. The MUTCD is how we put up signage throughout the United States, how we stripe our roads and so forth. These two really thick books are what keep us all safe when we drive. And so people have to follow the steps in those books. But a lot of those books includes general engineering safety. In other words, it's not simple. That's why we need really good engineers to make really good decisions. And then you got to worry about the city going, you know what, that's great, I'm glad you designed this, but that's way more expensive than we thought it would be. We're going to go down the road and we're not going to use you anymore. So there's a lot at play, but ultimately traffic engineering has to be about safety first and foremost. I once had a witness on the stand, and he was going to fight with me on everything. So we were in trial and he was their key witness. So because he decided to fight with me, I was able to get him to tell me that safety was not the #1 priority of traffic safety. Since I spent the next 30 minutes highlighting to the jury what he had just said, and now he had said it, so he couldn't really back down. It was a very fun part of the trial. Clearly, there's a lot of factors in play. And I'm sure if he was sitting here right now, he'd say, all right, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said it's not just safety, there's cost, there's a lot in play. But he was like, safety is not #1. We won that trial.
I always wonder what people are doing when they're not looking at the road. It feels like they're sitting in a chair, controlling the vehicle with their feet and hands, but glued to their smartphones.
All right, let me go ahead. Go ahead and comment yourself, but I'm just going to share this. We have no idea why that vehicle was going slowly. But we do know that the driver of the truck that rear-ended that vehicle was not looking, because that vehicle had been going slowly, and we see no evasive action. We don't see slowing. We don't see emergency braking. We don't see any moving of the wheel to get out of the way. We just see you ramming into the vehicle in front of you. So we don't know if someone was on their smartphone. There's any number of mechanical reasons that could have had you in that scary situation. And it may not be your fault. The idea that we're gonna let the truckers or whomever just rear end someone and just assume they're not at fault, I don't agree. The narrator disagrees with me, and we need you to let us know. Is the trial lawyer right? Is the narrator right? What do you guys think? Oh, I had no idea what happened until it was slowed down and that snake was coming at him. I thought he was just an idiot, and it turns out he had great reflexes.
A car was caught on camera flying through the air, passing dozens of other cars at a car dealership.
That is some Dukes of Hazzard stuff right there. You guys are too young for Dukes of Hazzard, many of you. That was crazy. I don't even know how he could do that. How do you do that? You stick that landing and then you hit a parked Lincoln. Like, how does that even happen? You're good enough to stick that landing and you can't avoid the parked car afterwards. I don't really know how that happens, but that was pretty impressive at first. Wait. Does the person right behind the car that crashes clap? Hold on. He's clapping. What? That's nuts. All right, I'm sorry. I just got to see it again. You did not just watch a collision where someone could have been hurt and start clapping. I know road rage is common, and a lot of people get in their vehicles and they lose all sense of humanity and caring and empathy. But even if someone does something dumb, if you see them potentially get hurt and you clap, it is time to reevaluate your priorities. That was crazy. Is he being followed by a cop? Here's what I'd like to know. To all you police officers, law enforcement out there, let's assume for the purpose of this scenario that is not someone who did something bad. I mean, dangerous or hurt someone else. Do you go home at the end of that day and go, man, I wish I could grab that guy, that SOB? Or do you go, okay. If he keeps riding like that, he may get his, but good for him. I'm just wondering, because like, that was crazy. Bad idea, by the way. Oh, no, we did not just watch that.
Captured the moment the truck ignored the warning signs and barriers, and then he was seriously injured and taken to the hospital. He was seriously injured.
Make up your mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, never stop on the tracks. I have no idea what just happened there. It was like he wasn't paying attention, slowed down too slow, hit something. It was like, I better stop now. That's awful. I have nothing to say other than before you ever cross train tracks, do not trust the gates, do not trust the lights. Without exception, make sure no train is coming. If the gates are down or the lights are going, with 100% certainty, do not go through them and stop on the tracks. Oh.
The moment when a plane crashed on Florida's busy I-75 freeway, colliding with a car and causing a fiery crash that killed 2 people. Just before landing, the pilot reported to air traffic control that the plane had lost both engines and would not be able to land on the runway.
You know what's so bad about that? When you watch this plane coming down, it's not going to happen because I-75 is packed at this point, but I-75 could have been used as a runway. He just would have had to get so lucky. Man, that's awful.
If the engines fail and it causes the accident for the cars, would the maintenance be at fault for that? The engine company be at fault? Who would be at fault for that?
First of all, let's start with this. From everything we see, we know the driver on the roadway is doing nothing wrong, right? So we have no reason to believe. I hate to ever rule anything out, but when you look at this, everyone's driving along the road, looks like similar speeds. Here comes a plane trying to get down because of an emergency. Who could be at fault and therefore possibly have to pay for this horrible, horrible situation? The pilot. If the pilot loses their life, the estate of the pilot. Why did the plane go down? Was it a mechanical error? Now you have the mechanics and or the company the mechanics work for. Was it an issue not with the mechanics, but the way the plane was designed? Now you have an issue with whoever designed the plane. Was this pilot not even supposed to be up there flying and therefore was given clearance the pilot should not have been given? So there are many different things that could be involved. So a lot of lawyers do what I do aviation work. But if, God forbid, you ever know anyone that needs something related to an aviation crash of any kind, get a lawyer that does it, because the laws aren't so much as different as the mechanics, the principles, what's going on are different, the experts you use are different, and that is a terrible thing to watch.
People. Just before landing, the pilot reported to air traffic control that the plane had lost both engines and would not be able to land on the runway.
Meanwhile, can I just point out, for a plane to lose both engines, something's horribly wrong. Someone made a mistake. To go back to that, was the gas filled up? Was the right kind of gas? How do you lose both engines in such a short period of time? You know what? The driver of that vehicle does not feel lucky. That driver is so lucky. The people behind that driver are so lucky because that axle comes flying the wrong way and it comes in through a windshield. I mean, all kinds of horrible things were avoided. I have no idea how that happens.
What do you think this couple is doing in the middle of the road? Please comment and let us know.
Well, Accident Scene put this together. I appreciate that. What is a couple doing in the middle of the road? What do you think? I think they have set up the bike to make sure people see them so they can take a really cool picture. What do you guys think? It's not a highway. Do you think this is unbelievably stupid? We don't advise this, right? This is only a 2-lane road, 1 lane in each direction. It's not gonna have a high speed limit. Is there some fault if that vehicle had run right past them and run over them? That would be what we call a question of fact. There's not gonna be a law that says it's one person's fault or the other. The jury's gonna have to decide what that is. What do you guys think? Don't forget to comment. Oh!
The engineer who designed this bridge owns a chain of repair stores nearby.
We are so quick to blame those we observe without thinking about bigger causes, right? So now we see this, but the truth is we all have expectations when we drive. How is it that you know what the speed limit is before you ever see a speed limit sign? I mean, how come you never go 65 and then it's 25, or you're going 25 and it's 65? It's because the way a road is designed and the markings used in the road are consistent whether you realize it or not, and it gives you all the clues that you need to be safe. So the way this was designed may be literally what's causing the problems. Yeah, as soon as you get a collision, everyone's gonna be like, why didn't you see the curb? Why didn't you follow this? Most people see it, okay. But if we followed the standard general safety engineering principles, these things should not happen over and over. So could the driver be at fault? Of course, but could other things be at play that are setting us up to fail? Yes. But this looks like a good idea. This has to be, there's no way. No, this is AI. This is not real. There's just no way. I don't believe it. I don't care what you tell me. I do not believe that this is actually something that happened.
When you're a martial artist, every sound makes your body ready to fight.
I feel like that guy was an undercover assassin or something.
Right.
He just has a bunch of people after him. He's John Wick.
So good. There's
The truck driver had difficulty deciding which to choose, so he decided to drive straight into the toll booth.
The truck driver did not have a problem deciding where to choose. The truck driver decided to not slow down. Can we all agree there's something wrong with the speed bump? Oh.
The dump truck crushed the car like a piece of paper. This is a warning to all road users. Be aware, pay attention, and obey traffic laws when traveling on the road.
Let me just say this, and this is not my attack on tractor trailers, on their drivers who are professional drivers, on the companies. But if you're a personal injury lawyer, an insurance defense lawyer, that's done enough work involving trucks, here's what I will share with you. It's not about who's right or wrong and who's at fault. It's about being safe. Anytime you're on a highway and you can avoid being right next to, right in front of, or even right behind a tractor trailer, do it. Avoid it. Don't even put yourself in harm's way. Do not, because the size and speed of the vehicles, it is a deadly combination. There's no reason to put yourself where a driver who's fatigued, not paying attention, or maybe another driver cuts off the professional driver. Avoid being near them for that reason.
Have you ever seen the Final Destination movies?
Never heard.
That's the reason why I don't drive behind tractor trailers.
Now I gotta see the movie.
We have to have you react to Final Destination.
Oh. So we've actually had a bunch of cases like this. So what happens a lot, it's not as obvious. A lot of times you have different subcontractors and they're all working together, and instead of properly marking off the area, One person thinks someone else is gonna do it. Anyway, this is actually, unfortunately, more common than people would think. They still blame my client, by the way. Why didn't you see where you were going? I don't know, because I've been walking my whole life and never thought there'd be a hole in the ground that was uncovered. Something called hindsight bias. Once you see the hole in the ground, you're like, oh, I would have seen it. Your eyes are up. If you look down like this everywhere you walk and something came and hit you in the head, you'd be like, why weren't you looking up? You look up and there's a hole in the ground and people, why weren't you looking down? So I'm not saying the driver couldn't have seen this, because it depends, but to blame the driver for something is dangerous. So we don't know in this case who left it there, but presumably there was in fact a cover on that hole, and whomever took it off is probably responsible. There's a number of other things that can go into play, but it happens more than you would think. Okay, all right.
A truck driver was trying to cross the bridge, injuring 2 passengers and sending them to the hospital. This is the 125th accident since the bridge was built.
What is going on? Let's break this down. You see on the right, there's a sign that says 11 feet 8 inches. Someone driving the vehicle, they generally know how large the vehicle is. So why are there so many collisions here? Something doesn't add up, because you can't have 100 people who all don't know the height of their vehicle. That's not likely. The sign is there. Is the sign wrong? That wouldn't usually happen. You have clear warning, right? You got warning everywhere. The bridge is there. That would probably be pretty hard to miss. It's hard to see with the orange how you would miss that. There is more going on here than we know. If this happens one time, you go, oh, well, that's on the driver. When it keeps happening, something else is going on here, but it's a really odd situation, because he was certain he was going to make it by the speed he was going, and he was not the first, second, third, or 50th person to make that mistake. Ice.
This is the first snowfall in downtown Montreal, causing many collisions. Even the police became victims.
Ooh. That's why my wife and I moved to Arizona. Here's a question. Someone runs into your car because the ice on the road is so icy, there's no humanly way, there's nothing they could do. They had the right snow tires, they did everything right. They hit a thing of ice, they slid it into your car. Who's at fault? In most states, you have to be negligent to be at fault. So if I drove safely, did everything right, and the ice caused me to do it, the defense is going to be, I did nothing wrong. Of course, usually we won't believe it, right? You were probably going too fast, you had the wrong tire, something happened. When this many vehicles are unable to control themselves, now you're in a situation where you're like, well, did the driver actually do anything that was negligent from which they could be at fault? Meanwhile, that's a problem, because what if you don't have good insurance on your car and someone runs into you and destroys your car? Now you don't have a car and you're like, well, but you hit me. Yes, but I didn't do anything negligently to hit you. What do you think ought to happen if you're driving a car and you do nothing wrong and someone runs into you because the ice lets them sliding and everyone else is sliding? Are you just out of luck, or should their insurance cover? But it's not about insurance. Insurance steps in for us if we're responsible. So the question is the driver, all these drivers who can't stop, do you think it should be on them? Because, hey, it's their car? Or do we stick to typical principles of you're responsible only if you make negligent choices?
It all started when a driver lost control and flipped his car, causing it to spin into the wrong lane. Many people stopped to help the accident, but at least 2 other drivers did not have time to brake and crashed into cars that had stopped because they did not turn on their hazard lights.
It's not just turning on your hazard lights. You can turn on your hazard lights and it may actually draw some drivers towards you. The reality is this, because we see horrible things on the side of roads all the time. It's why a lot of states have gone to saying if you see a police vehicle pull over, move over a full lane. If you see anyone pull over, move over a full lane. If you have to pull over, get out of the car and off the road if you're in a safe area, because that shoulder is not safe when those cars are flying by at highway speeds. It is very dangerous on the side of the road. So when you pull over to help somebody, yes, you want to get your hazards on unless there's certain conditions where you don't, but generally you want your hazards on. But no, move as quickly as you can and get that person to a safe area until you can get that place lit up by emergency lights or whatever it takes to make it safe. A couple hazard lights on the side of a road is not enough when people are driving and they're going a football field every 2 or 3 seconds and they're coming up on you and they're not expecting for your vehicle to be stopped in their lane of traffic. Thank you for watching as we go at it again. Listen, I want to know, so make sure you comment. What else would you like me to talk about? What do you want to hear about from a trial lawyer? It's actually in there fighting for people now. See this? If you want to see more dash cam videos and the trial lawyer's reaction, click here. All right. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. Thank you. Love you guys. Subscribe, follow, like, comment, whatever it takes. Let us know what you like and we'll do some more for you.